Guillermo, Emil, Amok to you. We're at the Tribune Fest in Austin, Texas. And I know I skipped yesterday, but I found myself in this little comfortable little pod here where I can do this thing, whatever we call this thing. But I'm here with Republicans in Texas. So that actually is a good place to be because it sort of tests you to see just where you are and how strong you are in your views and your opinions. Oh, by the way, this is Emil Muck's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. You're getting this live wherever you are on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter, X at Emil Muck, YouTube at Emil Muck 1. So it's interesting. This is kind of like someone said, it's like the Woodstock for political junkies or for cable news junkies because all the cable news stars are here uh, to talk or push books and things like that. And they've come to Texas. And Nancy Pelosi is here, some politicos. And there was one book out, Liz Story has written a book about inequality. And I was attracted to the book to come, talk to her. She was also appearing with an Asian American, an Indian American conservative. So, excuse me, Louise Story, not Liz. And so her book talks about inequality and how to solve this. It's sort of optimistic, but not because we are in fact in a capitalist society. And that was my point. My point to her was, hey, when you're in a capitalist society, can you really be honest about bridging any kind of inequality gap? And I'm not a panelist. I was an audience member when they asked me to come talk. I said, look, I'm like a lot of the people you talk about in the book. I'm a super immigrant because my father was a colonized Filipino, and I said, and I did the Ivy League thing, and I did my best to preserve the wealth gap. I became a journalist, and of course that gets a big laugh because it's the truth. Because how do you make sure that you bridge the income gap or the wealth gap if you don't go structurally into this and try to help everyone else, not just the so-called entrepreneurs? Because that is always the answer that people have, that, oh, well, entrepreneurship will help. That is what the Asian American Indian guy on the panel said, that, oh yeah, I'm optimistic about bridging the wealth gap because we're going to have entrepreneurship, we're going to have private enterprise, give money or help minority capitalists, you know build wealth. And who are they going to hire? And how are you going to spread this out to other people? How are you going to spread this out generally through society so that there is no income or wealth gap? There will always be a wealth gap if we are living in a capitalist society. That's just the way it is. And it's not a matter of, hey, we're going to make some people wealthy and the rest poor. If you're really, the whole premise of the panel was, you know, bridging the gap. And I I heard that and I said, hey, who are you kidding? We still live in capitalism. So anyway, predictable answer from the Indian American conservative who was on the board or on the panel. A nice answer from Louise Story, the Wall Street Journal reporter that wrote this book about very detailed book. And I'm going to try to have her on the podcast in the future because she goes into some data. She goes through some families of people who are connected to slavery. So once again, the black-white lens, are we looking at an Asian lens or a diverse lens? No, still black and white. Maybe it's because that's what America is stuck with. The history of America is still stuck in a black-white context, even though we could bring up Asian examples. You can go back to the 1890s with or 1860s with Asian labor, building of the railroads, the 1890s, the Exclusion Activations, 1898, the colonization of Filipinos and them being brought forth to America. So it's never as complex. They try to make it easier, and of course, just by making it easier doesn't mean they're going to get to any answers. So anyway, it's interesting being here at the Tribune Fest because it is a festival of ideas, and of all places in Texas, albeit in Austin, and this is where you're going to get people of. I mean, it's not all left wing radicals. It's actually a lot of. I think the divide in Austin is really age wise between young and old. At least that's the people that I see. The people here generally at this conference are, I would say, 45 plus, maybe older. And I'm here in a little, like a bookstore pod where it's fairly quiet, as you might hear some music. But Austin is really, I think there's some intergenerational struggles between young and old. One thing for sure, Austin is still a music town. Austin is a great little music town. I walking back from the Texas Tribune Festival site to where I'm staying in Austin, there are at least three really good clubs. One called Sea Boys, another called the Continental Club. Oh man, they were rocking. They were rocking in Austin. And that's one way. And then you go to the comedy stores or the comedy club way on Sixth. It was all right. They had some music there too. But man, I guess I haven't been to comedy clubs where the security is so tight where they wave you down, and if you have anything of metal, you're out. I mean, you can't bring anything in. I guess that's the way it is. Like when you go to a comedy show, right? They have the clear bags. You put the clear bags in, and there you are. But so anyway, I want to talk to you if you happen to be in Austin. Casa de Luz. You know where Casa de Luz is on 1701 Toomey Road. I'm doing a storytelling time show. Just me. Oh, not just me. I'm doing like maybe a 10-minute story. There'll be 6 to 7 other storytellers. Check it out at Casa de Luz, 1701 Toomey Road, 7 p.m. tonight. Get your tickets there at the door. I think they're like 10, $15. Don't hold me to that. But if you want to come see it, Casa de Luz in Austin. So I'm doing a couple storytelling shows. I wanted to talk about some of the other things I'm doing here at the Tribune Fest. George Conway is going to be on. He's a Filipino American who I guess he's more successful than he is Filipino American. I think he was a former Solicitor General, or he's argued some cases before the Supreme Court. High-powered conservative lawyer who founded the Lincoln Project. He's now more Republican than he is Filipino, but he's an enlightened Republican. He's one of those Lincoln Project Republicans where they're never Trumpers. And I want to meet him and talk to him and get him on the podcast because Filipinos, as well as Vietnamese, they're the two greatest Asian American groups that are pro-Trump. And I just wanted to see if, as an Asian American, if he had something to say to those Asian American Trumpers that would get them to somehow jump ship, I guess, or to reconsider their vote, because we're coming to that time where, hey, we got the debate coming up next week, and people will probably make their decision by next week. So anyway, George Conway is going to be here at the Texas Tribune. Uh, Yesterday, I also saw Liz Cheney do her thing in an interview. And the funny thing about Liz Cheney is everyone hates 99% of her positions on policy, except for the fact that she is a never Trumper and she is pro-democracy. And I guess ideally, this is the kind of pro-democracy movement we need in America, where we can disagree with one another, but we fundamentally come together when it comes to our democracy. And that's why, I mean, I can't tell you the number of standing ovations that Liz Cheney got just for being Liz Cheney. And then when she said that her dad was going to be voting for Kamala Harris, oh my God, that was another news-making point. So Liz Cheney was interesting. I saw her. Uh, I'm going to see George Conway. I said that. Yesterday's big news, of course, is that Trump is not going to be convicted, or he's convicted. He's not going to be sentenced before before the election. He's going to be after Judge Marchand, generally a fair guy, has decided that he's going to be Solomonic, and he's not going to go after uh, Donald Trump before the election. I think maybe that's a safe thing but unfortunately, if Donald Trump wins, the convictions, well, no, the convictions stay because the convictions are state convictions. But there'll be, it would be interesting to see. I mean, that's what they always say when journalists don't know this. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But the specter of having a presidential candidate who could be sentenced after the vote, that would make me concerned. Do you to have a want to vote for a guy who is equally as fit for the White House as he is the big house? That I think is I don't think it's a question we've ever seen in American democracy. I don't think. I don't think. Anyway, hey, this is kind of neat. This little padding. It's like a foam pad structure, ideal for the kind of thing I do here. So anyway, I'm going to end it here. Go back to the Texas Tribune. Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok, Emil Amok to you. Um, Emil Amok's Takeout. This is what we call this. Um, Spread it around. Go viral, please. It's my secret podcast. And more at you. Oh, one more time, I'll mention Casa de Luz. If you happen to be in Austin, Texas, I'll be at Casa de Luz, 1701 Toomey Road, tonight, 7 p.m., telling a story, just a 12-minute story. I'm one of about six storytellers. Catch it, tickets at the door. It's really a storytelling session for me to work out some things. Um, Stories that I've told before, we'll tell again. In I'm doing a thing at the Marsh in November, so check it out. It's good to see y'all. Y'all, I can't. I'm in Texas. I can't believe I said y'all. Good to see y'all. Y'all is not one of the pronouns I usually use. Y'all, y'all. Emil Muck here. We're going to end with a little meditation, a little loving kindness, sending it out to you. I used it a couple of times. A little mindfulness. Mindfulness is when you don't punch that other guy in the nose. It happened. I was driving. Some guy like tries to crowd me in the lane. He honks his horn. I honk my horn. You don't. My friend who's Texan says, don't roll down your window in Texas because that's the way you get shot here in Texas. So learned a lot here in Texas. I lived here for 5 years in different parts of Texas. But it's modern Texas is different. Modern Texas is different. All right. Take care. Till next time.